Hey everyone, this is Meg with another Last Gen review, and today I'm going to be talking about Terminal Reality's smutty hack and slash BloodRayne, a PlayStation 2 game that's also on the Gamecube, Xbox, PC and macOS systems. Half human, half vampire, all woman. Let this wickedly sexy heroine escort you into the terrifying world of the occult. It actually says this, I'm not making this up. In 1932, an American teenage girl was apprehended in Europe after carving a path of destruction trying to track down and kill her biological father. The girl's name was Rain, not spelt fooling rain, and she claimed the people she killed and her father, who was still at large, were vampires. Before more information was attained, the girl disappeared. That girl is a dampire. By the spelling, I guess that means a damp vampire. A product of her human mother's rape by her vampire father. Born with powers of a vampire without all of the weaknesses, Blade. She was taken in by an underground organisation calling themselves the Brimstone Society, a top secret fraternity that hunts down and destroys supernatural threats. Agent BloodRayne, as she is now known, protects humanity from things that ordinary people shouldn't have to deal with. The story is a mystery come supernatural horror with a lot of black humour. It's technically a period piece, who'da thunk, and deals with Nazis in the form of the GGG, some crazy artefacts, demonites, and a whole bunch of other nonsense. Expect a lot of random plot devices from this game. First off, I recognised the voice of Rain almost immediately, which isn't surprising, as Sarah Bailey, the voice actress, has voiced the likes of Sarah from Final Fantasy XIII and 13-2, Oriana Lawson, Miranda's sister from Mass Effect 3, Lady Comstock, BioShock Infinite, Faye Lee from Binary Domain, Dahlia Gillespie from Silent Hill Shattered Memories, and a buttload more. I guess because the story is leaning more towards the tongue-in-cheek, you can forgive most of the oddities. It actually includes some intriguing plot devices and time periods, characters and ideas. It's almost a shame that it cheapens this concept with such smutty ridiculousness, although I guess it's because of this that Terminal Reality were able to include such a wide variety of unusual factors and get away with so much. And despite the fact that Rain would be any feminist's or classy woman's nightmare, she's actually incredibly humorous. The writing for her character is so full of personality that you can't help but laugh at some of the crack-ups she comes out with. In reference to a boat trip she was forced to take, and the fact that the water is dangerous to her kind, she utters to her mentor,
"Sort of sticking a finger in my eye doesn't mean I have to do it."
She always has a few wacky puns to spare too, and I like that in a character if it's done well. Here, it's done well. You'll decapitate a guy and she'll say, "You dropped something." Brutal! Overall, I would say the story is interesting just because it's so unusual. It's a strange concoction of different elements and factors which don't necessarily belong together. I mean, it can feel like BloodRayne isn't too sure of what it wants to be. Assassination thriller, supernatural horror, black comedy that simultaneously attempts serious character development and tragic occurrences. But the narrative is so ridiculous that it almost doesn't matter. I want to add quickly that I'm surprised BloodRayne's only rated a 15. By the very nature of the vampire genre, it has sexual innuendos in abundance. I mean, it's highly sexualized in general. There's bucket loads of gore, rolling heads, and the language is colourful. If you're watching this review and themes of this sort bother you, I would tread carefully with BloodRayne or avoid it altogether. With the gameplay, I'm just going to start with the cons, which is going to seem pretty negative, but I want to get those out of the way now. First off, the pacing of the game is quite unusual. It doesn't really pick up the pace until about 10 levels or 3 to 4 hours in the game. Yeah, odd. But the biggest issue with the gameplay, and the primary reason it can be so infuriating, is more about the movement than mechanics or features of play. Firstly, figuring out the camera was like trying to read the sun. First person really means that the game is in classic third person. Third person means that controls are all higgledy-piggledy, and third person with strafe means that the controls are all higgledy-piggledy with fast running in random directions. Now, I started playing the game in third person, and might I say, there's a reason why left stick for movement and right stick for camera movement is standard, to stop games like BloodRayne making things needlessly annoying. You can only move the camera left and right in this mode using the left stick in said directions, and to move the camera up and down you have to use the right stick in said directions. I'm not sure whose brainchild that was, but holy moly. So if you're playing this game, don't go for the suggested third-person control, but first-person instead. It's not what you think. And though you're probably wiping your brow right now thinking, phew, at least I have options, don't get too excited. Even first-person is frustrating, and really bogs down what should be speedy, vampiric movement. Secondly, there was jumping. BloodRayne can tightrope, which I found to be very cool, but jumping up onto high ledges and lines was practically impossible. You could jump over them, stop just short, heck, you could even do a fancy vault on occasion. But gauging how far to jump, then accurately landing, was another thing entirely. This was a problem you could only get around with practice, patience, and a bit of luck. Now onto the pros, which are pretty good. Combat itself is really quite fun in a you don't have to think about what you're hacking kind of way. Mechanics are of the thwack and slash variety, but are by no means uninspired or droll, and are designed to be entertaining, which they are. There are quite a few different features to get to grips with at first, but they sound a lot more intimidating in the tutorial than they really are in practice. Players can swap between gun combat and sword combat easily. Gun combat is really great, as Rayne can target multiple objects with each hand. Think what the original Tomb Raider accomplished, but with a wide variety of moving targets. This is really helpful, and eradicates that god-awful lock-on feature. In essence, Rayne does it all for you, but this still doesn't take away the challenge of combat. For example, a range of enemies will attack you at once. Some foes will be dotted around areas for you to find, and bosses often travel with company. You also have an allotted cell system of sorts for guns. However, the harpoon is by far the best weapon. The best looking, the best animated, the most practical and helpful. Seeing as Rayne is a vampire, her health bar is kept in the green by feeding on anything with 2 legs and a pulse. Anytime you're running low, there will always be more than enough victims to bite on. Even if you've explored a place once already, enemies will respawn, so your health will always be regenerated. And with the harpoon, the player can rein in a helpless victim and feed on them. Delicious. And you can also use bodies as shields if they're standing, which is incredibly helpful. Blood Rage, which is a kind of blood haze attack that you gain access to once you've drained enough blood, is amazingly awesome. And charging this bar isn't hard at all. Rayne's supernatural skill Aura points you in the right direction by highlighting a blue kind of sphere, but there are almost always more than one, and it never acts as handwritten instructions on how to get there, so again, no challenge is lost. Another ability gained is Diluted Perception, which slows down time. There are much more to gain, and they're all selectable with the D-pad. They're all very satisfying too. Some mild adventuring will take place, and I really mean mild. You'll smash some crates with a few containing items, but mostly you'll just be finding batteries for elevators and doors, or finding levers for elevators and doors. Looking for ways to progress really is predictable, and searching for items is a futile endeavour. Overall, the gameplay can be groggy in parts, and this is mainly down to camera and character movement. But the combat is genuinely entertaining, and it really steps up a gear once the game is in full swing. It just takes a while. And these elements are all pretty cool if you're willing to put up with the bad movement controls. And truthfully, I wouldn't blame you if you weren't. It's battle heavy and has about 40 levels spread over 3 very beefy acts. It's entertaining, but has real problems. BloodRayne takes place over a vast array of continents and time periods, so there's a wealth of levels to get to grips with. My personal favourite was the murky bayous of 1930s Louisiana. It's gloomy, rainy and muggy. The game then moves 5 years on to kind of greying Nazi laboratories and submarine docks, then changes again to more supernatural, icky looking sets. It features some really incredible locations and moments in history, but there isn't really a feeling of time and place. And I think I know why. If you remember my review on Primal, check the link in the description. I mentioned that for each world, Jen would gain a new form and a unique look to suit this location, a la Kingdom Hearts. I think Rayne could have benefited from a similar sort of treatment. Watching a more modern-looking vampire, bordering on the neo-goth, run around dull, realistic, I say this with trepidation, settings, was like watching a cardboard cutout cartoon traversing derelict back alleys of I don't know, insert appropriate town here. Rayne's look tends to bring down the environments because they just don't match up. They don't even present similar motifs or colour schemes. Locations can sometimes feel a little bit empty and barren, but they are quite large. There are also a lot of boobs on display in this game, and they're all very jiggly. It's enough on that topic, I think. All in all, the animation is smooth-ish, but not quite smooth enough, especially when you're busting weak walls down. Overall, the style is mismatched, and not in a unique, inspiring kind of way, but in a why on earth is that there kind of way. It's not often that I comment on sound effects, let alone wax lyrical about them, but the ambient sound effects in this game are really amazing. They really set the scene and are very physical sounding. You know when you play some games where sound effects feel like they were recorded under a bedsheet or something, and in others you can hear the celery sticks snapping when bones are breaking, and melons bursting against the sidewalk when an in-game character falls from a great height? Well, BloodRayne fits into the latter category. And the sound effects are also really scary. When I was playing the game, people in the room would look up occasionally with a terrified expression on their face. Supernatural screams in-game are chilling, so kudos to BloodRayne for the most awesome array of impacting, surreal, and scary sound effects.
Where is he, bitch?
The musical score is really quite unique, though my favourite tracks from the game would have to be from the Argentinian levels, which had more of a militant style to them, or feel to them, with a dark, like, underlying thrum. Now I know that doesn't sound too unique, but this kind of by-the-book feel is broken up by clanging bells or perhaps glass bottles, accented with a tribal sort of wail. And I think that's the reason I like this score, is because it often features an ethnic feel somewhere in each track. The pieces are very level-oriented, so you'll hear a lot of looped melodies, and less of the big movie-like orchestra sound that's so common of games nowadays. Smutty schlock horror with fast-paced, gory hack-and-slash play really sums up BloodRayne in a nutshell. If you love that sort of thing, you will love BloodRayne and probably find it very entertaining. If not, please avoid this game. Avoid it at all costs. So that was the review. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to leave your comments and opinions on BloodRayne in the section below. Thanks again, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!